Nice. And this one's going under the radar. What's good? It's Woog. We've got Fabio Wardley, 18 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw, taking on Justis Huni, 12 wins and 0 losses. Yeah, battle of undefeated fighters. Fabio Wardley is pretty much the story in this one. He's the big puncher who's coming off of a first round knockout over Frazier Clark in a rematch. So they had one fight 2 fights ago. That was a fight of the year contender, ended up being a split draw. This was just an all-out war. This was one of the funner fights to watch in 2024. They ran it back several months later, and Fabio Wardley knocked Frazier Clark out in scary fashion. I mean, he hit him with a couple combinations, which started with a long right hand, and Frazier Clark was conscious. He was even up somewhat, but he was leaned up against the ropes, kind of with his arm over the rope or kind of between the ropes. His eyes were open, but his mouth he looked like he was having a stroke or something. It looked like there was something neurological that happened in that moment, and he just was in no shape to continue. It was one of those, oh, I hope he's all right. And I'm glad and thankful that he does appear to be all right. He's had a fight since, but that was a scary moment, that first round knockout of Frazier Clark at the hands of Fabio Wardley. So he's the one who, out of his 18 wins, 17 have come via knockout. And as he was kind of stepping up slowly in competition, fighting guys like Nathan Gorman, at least experienced fighters, journeymen, and then he fought David Adelaide and he knocked them both out. He fought Michael Coffey in between, knocked him out too. But as he was starting to improve in opponent quality, the question was, when was his lack of technical ability going to catch up with him? Like, we knew and we've always known that he hits hard as hell, but he's got some, defensive flaws, not the most defensive fighter, and he's not super technically sound. Although I do think that his skills are a little bit underrated, especially as he has developed over the last couple of years. Well, so far he's passing these tests up to this point with flying colors, and now he's about to fight Justis Huni, who is an Australian fighter. He's of Tongan, Samoan, Dutch, and Swedish descent, but he's the boxer between the two. If you watch Justis Huni fights, even though Samoans and Polynesians often have a reputation for being hard hitters, Justis Huni does hit with some authority, but only 7 of his 12 wins have come via knockout. He's kind of a mover. He likes to feint a lot. He throws jabs. He likes to kind of step around. He uses his feet a lot. And if you watch his fight, 4 fights ago against Kevin Lerena, the former cruiserweight IBO champ who, gave Daniel Dubois a lot of problems at heavyweight, dropped Dubois 3 times before getting knocked out in like the 3rd round. Kevin Lerena, a southpaw, was quicker than Justis Huni, or at least a better counterpuncher, more well-reflexed. So he had Justis Huni backing up a lot, moving around the ring, feinting, looking like he might be using a lot of unnecessary energy, just constantly moving his hands like this and just moving his feet around the ring, but often kind of getting pinned against the ropes and even against the corner, where he was getting hit a lot by Kevin Lerena. Justis Huni looked like he got buzzed early in that fight, and he looked like he got kind of shaken up, I thought, a couple times in that fight. He ended up winning a unanimous 10-round decision, and both of his step-up fights, the one against Lerena and the one in the fight before that against Andrew Tabiti, those were both unanimous decision wins. So after that Lerena fight, where again, it was a pretty damn close fight in my view, he took control more so in the second half of the fight. Lerena is a smaller heavyweight, but after that, he fought 3 more low-level heavyweights and knocked them all out in the 2nd round. So I would say Justis Huni has respectable power, but that's not his key feature. He's a mover. He fancies himself a boxer, uses his feet, uses a lot of feints, pretty damn good head movement. You see him slip a lot of jabs. You see him with his upper body bending at the waist, getting under a lot of punches too. And Justis Huni is 6'4". Fabio Wardley is 6'5". So these are 2 pretty large heavyweights. I'm just curious, when we see Wardley and Huni in the ring together, if Wardley is going to respect Huni's feints and his boxing ability. Now, Wardley versus Frazier Clark in their first fight, it heated up pretty quickly and it never really relented. That's why it just resulted in a fight of the year style war. Similar to Wardley versus Adelaide, although Wardley took control more over Adelaide. Like, he was winning those rounds up to the 7th round knockout. Fraser Clark and Fabio Wardley, the first fight, really could have gone either way. Yes, Wardley dropped Fraser Clark in like the middle rounds, yeah, but they were hurting each other. Wardley was bloodied up in the first few rounds of that fight. So in the first Wardley versus Fraser Clark fight, Wardley showed his heart, showed his fighting spirit, showed the dog in him, if you will. In the second fight, he showed his bulldozing capability. But I'm just wondering if the feints and the movement and the jab of Justis Huni is gonna get Fabio Wardley's attention, and it's gonna lessen his output. Sometimes Wardley goes like head over skis, you know, going for the big right hand, and he does have a pretty good jab, but he doesn't, especially when he starts getting tired, he doesn't really throw the jab in a 1-2 way. He'll throw the jab out as a clubbing power shot and then get in range and set up a big right hand. But he's not somebody who's going like tss, 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 tss. Like, he's not doing too much of that. He's throwing boom, big jab, and he's looking to land that, and that jab means something. It's not just a setup jab or a keep you occupied or give you something to look at type of jab. No, when Fabio Wardley commits to a jab, he's really leaning into it. So I think that if a boxing match ensues, Justis Huni has a good chance at winning a lot of rounds here. But this could go one of a few ways. Either Fabio Wardley does not respect the boxing ability and is not impressed or deterred by the feints and the jabs and the movement of Huni, and he tries to run him over and has success in doing so. I don't know about Huni's like chin. I saw him get buzzed in Kevin Lerena, and I usually don't make too much of it because it's sparring, but I've seen the video of Justis Huni getting rocked and wobbled and I think dropped in that clip in a sparring session. But let's just throw that evidence out, right? I still don't know about Justis Huni's chin. I just feel like sometimes when he gets hit cleanly up top, I see him going to the ropes, I see his high guard come up, and I see him taking a few moments to clear the cobwebs. And again, I don't like how often I see him get back up, and I don't like how often I see his back against the ropes and back against the corner. If you do that against Fabio Wardley and you're unable to keep this fight anywhere near the middle of the ring, you're in trouble. You're just asking to get knocked out, because it's not a question of if, it's when, because we know that Wardley could throw hard shots throughout the fight. He could knock you out in the middle rounds like he did David Adelaide in the 7th round, or like he did against Eric Molina in the 5th round. He doesn't have any late round knockouts. He, at this point, has finished all of his opponents except for Fraser Clark in the first fight. He's finished them all off by the 7th round. So he doesn't have any late knockouts. But Justis Huni, again, he plays with fire a lot. He's really going to need to limit those moments where he is near the ropes and where he's getting backed up and is basically putting up a high guard and is letting Fabio Wardley let his hands go. I think that Justis Huni is high IQ enough to know that he can't play that same game. And I'm not saying that he was playing that game with Lerena. I think Lerena is a pretty damn good boxer, and it has good counter punches, has a sneaky left hand, and is able to set up his power shots pretty quick. Power shots up well. He's quicker than Fabio Wardley, so there are tricky things that he was able to do as a southpaw that I don't necessarily think Wardley will be able to do. But Wardley, again, has a deceptively long right hand. Like, it's not just like at regular range where he could hurt you with it. Again, the punch that started off the finishing sequence of that first round against Fraser Clark was a long range, a wide looping right hand that caught Fraser Clark at the end of the punch and started that finishing sequence. So you've really got to be careful with Fabio Wardley. Again, Justis Huni, I think, has the ability to win rounds here. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you look at the betting odds, and Huni is the underdog, but last time I checked, he was like a plus 250. So the boxing public and the betting public respects Justis Huni's boxing ability a lot. He's got a real shot at winning this one, especially by decision. And I feel like Fabio Wardley is due for a letdown. I just feel like he's been on fire lately. Even in that split draw against Fraser Clark, the fact that Fraser Clark was able to fight him evenly, and I suspect Fraser Clark has a better chin, at least until he got, I mean, look, he got knocked out so badly in that first round against Wardley in the rematch. He looked like he had a dent in the side of his head, side of his face. Go rewatch that. It looks weird. It's like, was the side of his head always like that? I'm not sure. But Fraser Clark took some shots in that first fight that I don't think, or I suspect, Justis Huni would not be able to take. But I think that Justis Huni has better feints, has better head movement, has better foot movement than Frazier Clark, who is a pretty good boxer. I just don't think he's as good at the step arounds, at the jumping in and out, at managing range, at changing levels as Justis Huni is. I don't think he is, but I think that Huni has a pretty small margin for error here. I could see him having success early and then like in the 4th round, getting hit with a big right hand and that being the beginning of the end. I can see that, but I'm gonna err on the side. Look, I was gonna go with Huni having success early and then Wardley finishing him in the middle to late rounds, but I'm actually gonna go Justis Huni to. Should I do it? Should I go with the underdog here? You could tell I've been back and forth on this one. Fabio Wardley does also have the ability to win via decision, so don't sleep on that possibility. I often see in a lot of these puncher versus boxer scenarios that the idea, and most people are going, hey, either this guy is gonna knock this guy out or this other guy is gonna win by decision. I often say, don't sleep on the puncher's ability in a lot of these cases, in some of these cases, to win via decision. I think that that's a real possibility here. But you know what? Look, Fabio Wardley can't give in to the feints. He can't be on the outside just kind of hypnotized by the movement and can't be stymied by it. I think that Justis Huni is better at doing that stuff from range than anybody Wardley has fought. But sometimes it's better to not know what you don't know, right? Almost like you don't know any better, so you run those proverbial red lights, to quote online boxing analyst Richard Dwyer, as I often do. But I think that Fabio Wardley won't be impressed at the end of the day. Maybe in the first couple of rounds, but I think that he's gonna start just persisting with the attacks. And I think that Huni will be able to hold him off early, but I think Wardley's gonna get to him, man. I was gonna go Justis Huni and I was very tempted to pick the underdog here, but I think Wardley's gonna get to him. And I'm gonna take Fabio Wardley to win via stoppage between rounds 5 and 7, somewhere in there. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Fabio. You know what? Maybe even a little bit later. I'm gonna go with Fabio Wardley rounds 7 through 9, somewhere in there. I think that Huni's gonna win some rounds, and I think that this one's gonna be pretty damn interesting. By the way, this is a 12-rounder, not a 10-rounder. But I think that Fabio Wardley has the ability to keep on throwing these hard punches. I don't know that Justis Huni is as durable as Frazier Clark was in that first fight. So I'm gonna take he's not the juggernaut, that's Joe Joyce, but he's damn close in terms of just the willingness to keep on coming with the power punches. I'm gonna go with Fabio Wardley to catch up with Justis Huni, whether it's sooner or later, but I'm gonna go with a little bit later, round 7 through 9. I'm gonna go with Fabio Wardley with the stoppage here. Again, I was almost gonna come into this video with the Justis Huni upset pick, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Fabio Wardley via mid to late round stoppage. Let me know your thoughts on this one. This is a bit of a sleeper. I mean, I know it's not in the UK or in Australia. I know that this is a big deal, but I'm saying in the States, in the United States, this one's a sleeper. Remember, this one's gonna be taking place in the afternoon since it is taking place in the UK. In fact, it's taking place in Fabio Wardley's hometown of Suffolk, England, to be more specific, Ipswich. Let me know if I pronounced that correctly, but yeah, that's where this fight is taking place. So you're gonna have a super pro Fabio Wardley crowd. So even when he's not landing cleanly, you're gonna hear the crowd erupt. So again, Fabio Wardley via decision is a real possibility. Even in a fight that you might think Justis Huni edged it or should have won via decision, that might even go to Fabio Wardley, just based on his volume, if he's throwing aggressive punches, getting the crowd reaction, if it looks like Justis Huni is on his back foot and isn't landing meaningful punches, and like Justis Huni is being hunted by Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley could win via decision, but I think he's actually gonna get the stoppage here. And remember, also, sometimes fighting in one's hometown puts undue pressure on the hometown fighter, and you often get underperformance from the hometown fighter. Don't sleep on that possibility. That could be a thing too, but I'm gonna go with Fabio Wardley via stoppage here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog, thanks for tuning in.